It's taken me a lot longer to get this video made than I thought. Just been really busy making sure that I responded to everyone who left comments after the JeffMara podcast. So it's taken, it's pretty much been a day of going in there and personally responding to people. But I was just going to read you a bit out of my book, Limitless, Reconnecting with the Infinite Power Within, that I mentioned. So it's a little chapter, and the book doesn't really have chapters. It's just pieces of the journey and like little sections, if you will. But this part is just called Angels All Around You. I was parked next to another patient on his own adventure, although I sensed it was to be one of his last. I could feel his calm, wise energy there beside me. He was an old soul, not some senile old man, not some crazy. I could feel and see that he was fully cognizant. The old man turned to me and said, "There are angels all around you." Instantly my hair stood up on end, and I laughed aloud in fear more than anything else. I was afraid that what he said could be true. He sensed my fear and then assured me with a smile, "There's one standing right there, right beside your shoulder." Then he broke eye contact and was now transfixed on one of these angels beside me. He lay in his bed just smiling, glowing in its presence, and I knew that he could sense and see something that I couldn't. Then he looked at me and said, "You'll be fine," before he was wheeled away. The nurse turned to me and added, "You've got someone looking out for you, that's for sure," as I was moved into the elevator. I felt energy moving all around me, like I was expanding beyond my body, beyond the walls of the elevator. I connected with my spirit. I was so happy to be alive and breathing, deeply grateful for the help I'd received both from this world and beyond. A flood of love and gratitude passed through every cell in my body. This was a moment of pure bliss, pure conviction to change, and pure knowing that I was far more than my physical body and connected to something infinitely greater. We reached our floor and I was wheeled out of the elevator. In many ways, my journey was just beginning. We made our way down a long corridor, and after negotiating a careful 3-point turn, the nurse parked me in my new resting position, the ward called S5. She wished me well, and she said goodbye. Many beautiful people came and went during my time in hospital, and I'm blessed to have received their care and support. My encounter with the old soul left me feeling empowered, energized, and more determined than ever to heal myself and begin my new life. So that was an interesting chapter to write. And ultimately, at first I wasn't going to put it in there. The good old fear of being judged by just sharing my truth. But after reflection, I thought it was important to add in. So that's chapter called Angels All Around You. But the other part that I didn't really touch on in the podcast with Jeff was that the actual experience during my coma, which was very much centered on my higher self wanting to find out whether or not my heart was pure. And I mean that as in the whole scene that played out before me was geared to put me in a position where I had to make a choice. And there was characters in the coma. There were people and things in there, but ultimately every one of them was I. They were all me, regardless. But one of them manifested as the trickster. And I knew on the most fundamental level of consciousness in my heart that he was attempting to get me to make the wrong decision, I guess. So much of my life had been this battle with believing I was worthless and not good enough, and the depression, and then eventually drugs to try and self-medicate. I was trying to stop the pain that I was feeling any way that I could. And so my scene, my vision, my spiritual test in that coma was the offer of drugs, and this trickster was attempting to see if I would take up the offer. And it said to me, this will help with the healing process. But some other more fundamental part of I knew that it was wrong, that it just was the wrong decision, the wrong path, and that I'd let that part of my limited self go. And the moment I embodied that no, and this was felt in my innermost core, in my heart. This was all unspoken, but when my heart was pure, immediately I was taken over to a window in this room, in this scene that was playing out by an extremely caring and loving presence. But again, it wasn't something outside of me. It was a piece of me. And, it was this caring, nurturing communication of, you need to rest a while, I'm taking you away from that scene, that test, whatever that was. And I sat there for forever, but also for the most briefest blink of an eyelid, as in I was lost in a thought that could have been eternity, or it could have been a micron of a second. And then I heard my brother's voice. And the moment that I conditioned consciousness, the moment I labeled myself Damien Horton, I am. And I said internally, that's right, I remember who I am now. And I said, I am Damien Horton, and that's my brother. And I remember my mum, and things, material things, desires, attributes, music, all of it. A billionth of a second came flooding back in, and the moment I said, I am Damien Horton, a portal opened up right where the window was. And it was pale, perfect, beautiful light that cannot be, it can't be encapsulated through words. But it just pulled me in. It pulled me into this place. And then the next thing I know, I'm in intensive care with my brother holding my hand. and my mum there as well. My mum at the foot of the bed, and for them I'd been gone for 8 days, but for me it was just a blink of the eyelid in a sense, although that place was profoundly real. And actually there was a comment, I can't remember who left it, but someone was saying, why do people keep saying that place is more real than this place, or can you elaborate or explain what you mean by that? So in no way was that comment intended on reducing our experience, reducing the human experience, the agony and the heartache, that we go through, that some of us travel through. I know that place. I know that place really well. It's that once you awaken consciousness and you remember where you came from, and it's not built on a belief, it's not built on something that you read in a book or that your family pushed you into believing, some religion that you were just born into. And if you'd been born elsewhere with a different book or a different religion, then you would have different belief systems. It transcends thought and belief, and it's a felt knowing, and that's what I mean by it's more real than anything that the mind has attached itself to, because you remember where you came from, and you remember exactly where all of us journey back to. Not too long from now. It wasn't, not too long from now, we came from that place, and every one of us is limitless being on a journey back home. So that's today's video. Sorry it took a little bit longer, probably went a bit over time as well. I try and keep them under 10 minutes, but yeah, for you good people that are interested, there'll be a link below for the ebook or the video book series, which I went and recorded as well, so you get to have me sharing extra bits and taking you through the story. There's only a few copies of the first publication left now, maybe 50 or 60, but I'm reprinting at some point once it's financially viable. It costs a lot of money to publish and print a book, and if you're interested in live workshops or mindset coaching, head to damienhorton.com, and music lovers, Spotify or your favorite streaming service, just put in my name. Alright guys, sending you love wherever you are in the world. Peace.